tonight, the 13-26 Sixers home against the Toronto Raptors. Toronto brings a 28-13 record in. They also are coming in on a back-to-back situation where they won last night in Brooklyn, 119-109, and Kyle Lowry didn't even play. No Kyle Lowry, no problem, say the Raptors. Joining us now, our Sixers 97.3 insider, that's Michael Kaskey-Blomain. Michael, how are you, sir?
Pete, I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Not bad, thank you. And the Sixers team getting a lot of buzz of late. I was telling Josh before we had you on that their gear is starting to fly off the shelves. They're fourth in the NBA behind the Warriors, Cavaliers, and Bulls in total merchandise sales over the past 7 days. Of course, that said, they're still a 5.5-point underdog against the Raptors tonight, and that's not really surprising, right? Maybe you can enlighten us why.
Yeah, I mean, that's not too surprising. I think, we've seen the team take, big steps forward over the past several weeks, but, there's still a sizable gap between the Sixers, obviously, and some of these more established teams in the East. The Raptors are obviously a team that, they went to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, had the second best record in the East. Same story again this year. They're a team that just has a lot of experience. And that'll obviously come for the Sixers down the road, but it's not quite there, at this point yet. So when they face these teams, that are higher in the East at this point, they're always, it seems like, going to be a little bit of an underdog.
The potential for them not to have Joel Embiid tonight, are you hearing that as well?
Yeah, his status for tonight is up in the air according to the team at shoot-around this morning. He's listed as questionable with flu-like symptoms. He didn't go through the shoot-around with the team this morning. So, we'll get more information about his status tonight, I guess, as it gets closer to the game tonight at 7.
Michael Kaskey-Blomain, our Sixers insider on 97.3 ESPN. In a minute, Michael, I want to go through some point-counterpoint things. I found a great article that Bob Cooney and Marcus Hayes went back and forth with, and, it's been 6 wins in 8 games, 2 against possible playoff teams. So we'll go through some different topics of conversation and throw them up for your analysis and see how you answer them. But I will say ask you first and foremost, what's the mood of the team right now as they're riding this win streak, and do you think they can keep it going?
The mood of the team it's definitely high. The spirits are high on the team. Several of the players have said, and I think Brett said as much the other night, that this is one of the most cohesive units that he's been a part of since he joined the Sixers. I think the team really enjoys playing with each other, and they also enjoy, spending time together off the court, which I think a lot of times is a good sign of on-court success, that the players really, enjoy each other in real life off the court. It kind of reflects in the play on the court, and I think we're starting to see that with this Sixers team. There's a lot of guys that really seem to be enjoying, sharing the win streak together, and, that kind of makes the guys go an extra mile for each other to do, work a little harder for the team in general. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing with the Sixers right now. And, I think that there's no reason to believe that this, their style of play and the competitive nature that they've shown over the past several weeks can't be, continued throughout the course of the season, especially, if you start to consider the potential of a return or a debut for Ben Simmons coming down the road. I think obviously that will only help the matter of, on the court. So I think things are certainly looking up for the team at this point.
You look at a guy like TJ McConnell, he's going to play tonight, even though he's listed as questionable. He did with that shoot-around without a wrist brace on. I want to ask you about him because it seems like with the extra playing time he's been getting, that he is one of those guys who has been valuable for this team, not just in winning, but in kind of keeping everybody on a positive page.
Absolutely. I don't think you could overstate how important TJ has been for the Sixers this season, especially when you consider he was, slated to really be the third string point guard for the team coming into the season. They thought the Jared Bayless, who obviously is now out for the season with the left wrist injury issue, he was kind of penciled in as the team's starting point guard. And then obviously Sergio, who's dealt with his own injury issues, took the starting role once Jared went down. And then TJ got kind of thrust into the role due to the injuries to those two guys. And, I don't think that there's many third-string point guards across the NBA that could kind of do what TJ has done so far this season, and not just, the game winner against the Knicks or, individual plays, but he's really kind of rallied the team around him. His kind of gritty style of play. He always, as he said himself, he constantly plays like he has something to prove. As he obviously does. He's been, doubted consistently since he's been in the league. So I just think that his demeanor and his persona and his gritty style of play has been kind of perfect for the way the Sixers are playing. They're obviously a team that's trying to climb out of, a few years of being at the bottom of the league, trying to pull out of that. And I think TJ has stepped into a role that opened up that wasn't necessarily supposed to be his, and he's made the best of the opportunity, and I think he certainly deserves to be commended greatly for that.
Michael Kaskey-Blomain with us here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. You can go to our website right now, 973ESPN.com, and read his great article, Patience Paying Off for Process Trusters, an article that describes the electricity that you feel around the squad right now, as that's been absent over about the last 10-plus years, and especially when Joel Embiid plays and fans are chanting out, trust the process. So like I promised you, Michael, there was some fun point-counterpoint things. So what I'll do is I'll throw out a supposition, or I'll throw out a point, and then I'll get your reaction to it. And since I mentioned Joel Embiid, let's start with that. If you take the premise that Embiid is awesome, which center should the Sixers trade, Nerlens Noel or Jahlil Okafor?
It's unfortunate because I honestly like both guys. I think they both have potential in the NBA. I think they can both go on to have, solid careers, whether or not it's in Philadelphia. But, for the sake of the game, I think you got to trade Jahlil Okafor. I think Nerlens has shown that he just fits better with the Sixers team and his style of play. It meshes well with Embiid. When Nerlens comes off the bench for Embiid, the Sixers can really play. It's another guy that can run the floor, that can protect the rim, that can get up and down, whereas, Jahlil's style of play, it's just different. Not to say it's better or worse, but with what the Sixers have right now, Nerlens kind of just seems to fit that flow more, and seems to, the team that just seems to play a bit better when Nerlens is in there. I think that's been reflected in the win-loss record over the past couple weeks that, Jahlil has not been playing. So, if you got to make a move, which I think, everyone has come to realize at this point that a move does need to be made, I think Okafor is the guy that has to go.
How about this one? Rookie forward Dario Saric should get more of veteran Ersan Ilyasova's minutes. Agree, disagree, or why?
Agree, simply for the fact that, Dario's a guy that potentially is going to be here long term. Well, Ersan, he's working very well now, complimenting Joel Embiid. He's a nice veteran to have, in the roster now to kind of balance out some of the young players. He's playing hard. Obviously, he's a scrappy guy, but his long-term future with the franchise, he's a free agent after this season. It's just not known if he's going to be around long-term, whereas in Dario, you have a guy that the Sixers, obviously took with the lottery pick 2 years ago and, might use to build on going forward. And I think, not that he should necessarily start. I think that the bench role has worked out well for Dario, but a little bit, 5-6 of those minutes that Ersan plays down the stretch, if you could shift that over to Dario, I think it would benefit him and the team in the long term.
Brett Brown is an improving coach and needed to improve.
Oof, that's a tough one, Pete. Improvement was needed in the team. I don't know if it's as much that Brett himself has improved or just the pieces around him have improved. He finally has Joel out on the floor with him and a couple veterans, and the team has, now that he's kind of settled on a rotation where one of the big guys basically doesn't play, whether it be Okafor or Nerlens. I think now that he's able to do that, you just see a coach that has a better feel and a better control of his roster. And, I think the results, you're seeing it on the court. So he certainly needed to improve. I think some changes have been made on his part that has made it look better. Obviously, like I said, the rotation. He's got a couple of really nice play calls up at late game down the stretch there. Obviously, the game-winning out-of-bounds alley-oop to Robert Covington a couple of weeks back. A couple other plays that early in the season it seemed like he might not have made the call there. But, in general, I think Brett, just like the team, is trending upwards. I think he's doing a great job with the roster so far, and I think he's kind of squashed a lot of those speculation or rumors that you heard at the beginning of the season that, maybe the Sixers should look elsewhere. I think that's, it's at least been quieted for the time being.
Michael Kaskey-Blomain with us, our Sixers insider. Yeah, a lot of people, Michael, who have said, let's wait and see with Brown's coaching until he had real NBA talent. He certainly has it now. And then other people who take the point that say to imply that he got better means that he wasn't competent or good. No, he was fine. It just he didn't have the talent around him. So there's two ways to slice that onion for sure. But this is a fun game, so we'll continue with one more and say, how about this information? Winning now is a good thing or not? Winning now.
I kind of touched on this in the article on 97.3, and on it, it's a situation where, to me, you can't really go wrong either way. If the team, somehow surges forward and does make the playoffs this year, as Joel kind of alluded to, and they get that 8 seed, no, they're not going to win the title. But this year, as opposed to other years, if they did make that playoff push, it would be on the backs of their own franchise cornerstones. It would be because Joel played that well and Dario played that well and Nerlens played that well that they got into the playoffs. And then that experience in the playoffs certainly couldn't hurt them moving forward, as opposed to a couple years ago if they got into the playoffs with the team with Evan Turner and Spencer Hawes, guys that weren't going to be here. In this situation, if they made the playoffs, it would at least be great experience and, a testament to the work of their young guys. But, with that being said, at the same time, landing in the lottery one more time to, stack up a little bit more to get another high caliber talent, guard to complement some of these guys they have also would not be a bad scenario. So, the way I look at it at this point, I think missing out on the playoffs would probably be, the best case, better situation for the team this year to get them one more, solid building block in the position that they really need, whether it be a point guard or a wing scorer to complement Joel and Ben. And then, starting next season, it's playoffs or bust for, the next decade. But either way, I think they're just in a great position moving forward. And the fan base is, they're pretty lucky.
Speaking of compliment, I know some of the rumors are coming out about, and you've tweeted about it, about a potential return of Drew Holiday to the Sixers. And before I get your analysis of that, I'm kind of confused by that because you have Jared Bayless signed for another 2 years. You could end up getting a guy maybe like a Malik Monk or somebody who is a scoring guard in the draft. You have TJ McConnell here. I know Sergio Rodriguez only under contract for 1 year, so he might be back next year. But I don't see where he would fit in if all these other pieces, because you might end up with 2 lottery picks. If you pick 2 guards of those lottery picks, where does Drew Holiday fit on this team, Mike?
That's a great question, Josh. And to be honest, I was a little bit surprised when I saw that rumor this morning. It was in a piece from ESPN, Zach Lowe, that the Sixers would have some interest in Holiday this summer. And skill set wise, it seemed it would make a little bit of sense. Drew's a guy as far as a point guard that can play. He has size and he can play. Basically either guard position. He could play off ball or play point himself and run the offense. And on the defensive end, he has the size to play the opposing point guard. So when you're talking about matching up a guard next to Ben Simmons, skill set wise, Holiday makes a lot of sense. But for a lot of the reasons that you said, and the contract situation, he's under contract, up until the end of this year. Then he would basically be a free agent in this summer, which the market value for a quality point guard like Drew Holiday would be. The price tag would be pretty high, which, I like you said, they already have Jared Bayless under contract, a guy in TJ who's really, trying to make a spot for himself going forward. And then you assume that they're going to add, at least one point guard in with one of the picks that they had in the draft, if not more. So like you said, Josh, it's definitely a head scratcher as to where exactly he would fit. I understand the interest as far as skill set wise, but I don't necessarily think that the money spent toward Drew Holiday in that potential scenario would be maybe the best way to spend the cap space for the Sixers moving forward, especially if, Ben Simmons is going to be a guy that has the ball in his hands a lot, and you have another guard, like you said, like a Monk or a Ball or someone else in the lineup.
He's Michael Kaskey-Blomain. He's our 97.3 ESPN Sixers insider. You can follow him on Twitter at The Real Mike KB, and also check out his article that's up on our website right now, Patience Paying Off for Process Trusters. It is the Raptors and Sixers tonight at the Wells Fargo Center, And Michael Kaskey-Blomain, of course, will be following that one with great interest. Thanks, Mike. We appreciate it.
Thanks, fellas. Always a pleasure.